Welcome to another episode of The Naughty List. We are the self-proclaimed best in spicy book reviews, and we're here to tell you if your favorite smut book or series is worth 5 out of 5 spicy peppers on our totally arbitrary and completely biased rating scale.
Remember, these are just our opinions. And trigger warning, there is some seriously kinky shit in this episode, including but not limited to knife play, blood play, bondage, and fivesomes. There will be discussions of dubious consent, sexual assault, violence, and gore. If you have not read Den of Vipers, there will be major spoilers ahead.
Here we talk about super serious and extremely relevant things in today's society, specifically smut. Fairy dick, dragon boys, reverse harems, oh my. This is an NC-17 podcast, so we recommend that you cover the kids' ears or take us into the bathroom with you. It's going to get strangely intimate. Just let it happen.
Yeah, in this episode, we're going to emphasize the reverse harems.
Ooh.
So Book Talk was completely obsessed with this book for a hot second, which is what made me pick it up in the first place. And honestly, I wish I could go back in time and hit myself over the head with a frying pan.
You still recommended it to me, though, so I don't know if that was like you thought I would just enjoy it or you really wanted to hurt me somehow on a physical level.
No, see, I felt the pain, and since you are my friend, you have to feel it too.
Well, thank you for that.
It's how I show my love. This book follows Roxy, a quote-unquote a badass rocker chick who doesn't take shit from anyone, can eat and drink whatever she wants without gaining a pound, and can beat up armed and trained men double her size while sporting broken toes and a dislocated arm.
That was my favorite part.
We meet the Vipers, 4 men named Ryder, Kenzo, Garrett, and Diesel, who met each other through tragic events and decided that they were the only ones who understood each other and became closer than brothers, except, of course, Ryder and Kenzo, who were actually brothers. I'm going to give you guys a very in-depth summary of this book so you don't have to read it. And this book is more than 600 pages long, so strap in for a wild ride.
You could say that again.
So this book starts off with a quote from Gautama Buddha. Just as a snake sheds its skin, we must shed our past over and over again. And honestly, this felt a little sacrilegious. I mean, this made me uncomfortable. Buddhism is a religion, a philosophy, and literally a way of life, and it felt so wrong to be referencing it in a very kinky reverse harem. The actual book starts off with the Vipers torturing and interrogating Roxy's father, who owes them money and gives the Vipers his daughter to cover his debt. Roxy owns a bar, which she loves like her child, and in our first introduction of her, she beats up and completely knocks out 4 men twice her size with a bat she keeps behind her bar. Then the Vipers have to get her themselves. And just in case you haven't caught on to what kind of girl Roxy is, here's what Kenzo says after doing a few minutes of research on her. It seems Rob's daughter is quite the legend. Name's Roxy. Owns that dive joint across town, like he said. Lots of bastards even seem scared of the girl. Others respect her. She ain't gonna be an easy take. And immediately after seeing a picture of her, Ryder is so turned on to the point of being unable to speak somehow.
Yeah, like the fact that these all assumedly adult men have to adjust themselves because they have uncontrollable stiffies just from looking at a picture of a woman, like it starts off on a weird note.
It really does. And just so you know exactly what she thinks of herself, here's a quote from Roxy's perspective. Some call me a typical rocker chick. Fuck, I even have the piercings to go along with the tats and makeup. It started out as a form of rebellion, a way to piss off my asshole father before I ran away. Then I grew to love this look, and well, now it's just me. But that's enough dredging up the ghosts from my past before breakfast. Wow, she sounds so cool, Hannah.
I know. And the fact as well, like they keep referencing how like everyone knows her and everyone's scared of her. Like, don't get me wrong, owning a dive bar is hard, but is it really like everybody on the streets knows me and fears me material? Like she's still a restaurant owner, like bartender. She's not like the mafia herself. So I don't know. I don't get that part.
Exactly. And a lot of it was just the author telling us, yeah, you should be scared of her, not really her
Right.
doing it. So, as expected, Roxy put up a fight, but the Vipers successfully abducted her. And we find out pretty early on that Roxy's parents abused her, which, I mean, expected. Crude as that sounds, I didn't expect her father to win any Parent of the Year awards or anything. And it's such a common trope in books like this where the main characters have to have traumatic past with abusive parents.
Mm-hmm.
Diesel's nickname for her is Little Bird, which I actually think is super cute. If only he didn't say it, like he would crush that little bird in the palm of his hand.
Mm.
You know, he mentally tortures Roxy a little bit before we see his psychotic personality come out, and then Garrett comes into her room and saves her from Diesel. He's a sensitive one, the fighter, the one who had a dark past with a woman, and although he feels an attraction to Roxy, he has no desire to take her to bed.
Yet being the operative word here.
Mm-hmm. Ryder is a cold bastard who hides his emotions and vulnerability behind a sheet of ice. Kenzo is a charming psychopath who has a gambling problem. And I mean, I guess, is it a problem if you always win? And Garrett is the damaged sweetheart. Very cookie cutter archetypes of characters.
Mm-hmm.
The four of them have breakfast together and they have black coffee because cream and sugar is for pussies.
Damn right.
Roxy gets bored and decides to be destructive. Ryder finds out she's destroyed all his nice expensive suits.
Yeah, she just like takes a pair of scissors to them. And I understand, like, yeah, you were kidnapped, you hate these guys, but like, you have the freedom to roam the house. And instead of trying to find your way out or trying to find information that you can use against your kidnappers potentially, she's just like, no, I want to like destroy all their shit in the most childish way possible. Like,
That makes complete
okay.
sense. And so apparently this like really street smart badass chick is like that's her only solution to this problem.
Yeah, I mean, makes sense. If you can't beat them, then cut up their expensive suits with scissors. I don't make them regret it.
Yeah, because it's not like they're super rich guys who can just buy new ones literally right this second.
Yeah, it's worth it. You cause them a small inconvenience in return for them kidnapping you.
So after that, she runs into Garrett's room to get away from Ryder, and Garrett absolutely loses his shit. He slams her against the wall and threatens to kill her. She fires back, saying that she would rather they just kill her now than have to deal with the uncertainty. Ryder calms Garrett down, and we learn that a woman from his past damaged him so badly, both physically and emotionally, that he carries that anger with him everywhere. By the way, throughout all her interactions with the Vipers, Roxy is so horny and aroused to the point of having verbal conversations with her vagina.
Oh yeah, I lost it when she was sitting there like, you hussy, you shameless hussy. Stop it. These are our kidnappers. These people hurt us. I know they're sexy, but stop. I'm like, girlfriend? Too much.
Too much. And this is the common theme throughout the entire book. She keeps on doing it.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Roxy manages to escape the fortress for a split second, but gets stopped at the garage, where she figures she can at least go out swinging and takes a crowbar to Ryder's car. As a punishment, Ryder leaves her with Diesel, the psychotic asshole, and he takes her into his dungeon of horrors, or as he likes to call it, the fire cave. I like dungeon of horrors better. Fire cave just sounds kind of dumb.
Yeah, Fire Cave sounds like you're psychotic, but like trying to just be like a normal bro. So you have like a bro cave, but bro cave was too tame. So you had to like make it cool. And what way to make it cool than, using a scary, cool word like fire? Fire Cave.
I can fully see that being K.A. Knight's thought process as she writes it.
He's like, he's too cool to have a bro cave. Let's make it a fire cave.
So he's in his fire cave torturing a guy who insulted them and tried to have Garrett killed. Diesel is the first one out of their group to see Roxy as who she is, as one of them, just as crazy and psychotic as they all are. Kenzo and Roxy decide to have a little wager when the others are out. They play a game of cups, where you have to pour alcohol into a cup, chug it, and then use your hand to flip the cup upside down. If Roxy gets to 3 cups before Kenzo, she gets her freedom. If she doesn't, Kenzo gets, oh wait, can we guess what he gets? He gets her.
Of course.
Of course she loses, but Kenzo gives her an out. She has to guess a number, and if it's the number he rolls on a pair of dice, then she's safe. If not, he gets to choose which article of clothing she removes. They play only twice before he pounces on her. This scene really toes the line between dubious consent and sexual assault because
Mhm.
she is actively trying to get away from him and telling him to stop, but in her mind, she likes it.
Yeah. And then
Very,
like
yeah.
afterward too, she's like, I should have said no. Why didn't I say no? And it's kind of like, bitch, like make up your mind.
No, literally. And then she goes to Diesel and he had watched that entire scene and got off on it. And like he asks her, did you say no? And like it's kind of like this whole thing where she admits to herself, like, no, I never said no.
I actually wanted it. It's true.
So when everyone's asleep, Diesel goes to her room and lays next to her, and Roxy turns the tables and gets a knife to his neck. But Diesel, the kinky bastard he is, he loves it. She accepts the fact that she is never going to escape the Vipers and has a heart-to-heart with Diesel. After their little talk, Roxy is a lot more vocal and chummy with the guys. They need a forger, someone they can interrogate to lead them to whoever wants them killed. Roxy just so happens to know a forger and offers to introduce them if she can come along. She is completely in tune with these guys at this point. The forger, ironically named Tiny, has a very strange relationship with Roxy. They're crude and crass with each other, insulting the size of their dicks or their intelligence. And I don't necessarily hate that part. I love relationships like this, but the dialogue is just so cringy, in my opinion.
Yeah.
She says the word bitch twice in one sentence, like over and over again. And at one point, I was like, if I read the word bitch one more time, I'm going to chuck this book across the room. And it was right there in the next sentence. Oh my God, it was really not, like, it was bad writing.
Yeah.
Another quote I feel like you'll all appreciate is, people with dicks always think they know best and can act like they own you. I remind them that vaginas are stronger than dicks, as ours are inside and yours hang out, ready to be chopped off.
This is true.
Yeah, it is very true. I love the message of this quote. I love it. But much like the rest of her writing, she takes it just a step too far, in my opinion, and it loses some of its appeal. Like, if she had just
Mhm.
stopped it at vaginas are stronger than dicks, I would have been like, yes, go off.
Yeah, like the whole, ready to be chopped off. I think that just took it to an edgy place that was unnecessary.
Exactly. Once they've gotten what they need from Tiny, they do, the Viper thing, a little bit of threatening, a little quote unquote protecting what is theirs, and they go on their way. They get ambushed from some people from the Triad, and of course, Roxy has killer aim with a gun because she's the main character, and God forbid she isn't perfect in every way. The Vipers head out to get info and beat up some bad guys and leave Roxy home alone with some security guards. Now, this is the part that really bothered me in this book. We've been through dubious consent, violence, and there is going to be so much more. But this part of the book made me really upset. The four of them are playing cards, and Roxy is kicking their asses, as expected, and one of them gets upset. He grabs her hand, and to force her to show them their cards and prove she's not cheating, then the Vipers walk in. As a retaliation for touching what they consider theirs, Ryder smashes both his hands with a hammer and cuts off his tongue. And that entire exchange is just so cringeworthy.
Yeah, Ryder literally says, "You dare insult our princess?" Gag.
I know, oh my god, it's so gross. And the entire time, she's like humping Diesel like a dog in heat. And then when Roxy pushes back at them and yells at them for their alpha male possessiveness, Ryder tells her that it was her fault for letting him touch her and that she should feel guilty for making them do that. And that she was the one to blame. And that's the part
Okay.
that I know, that's the part that got me so upset because that loss of control and manipulation tactic was just really fucked up. But Ryder isn't done with her. Now it's his turn to fuck her. And it feels like all the guys get their turn with her before she enjoys some fun with all of them together. And Ryder is a kinky, dom son of a bitch. They have hot, nasty sex that is multiple chapters long. And after a quick nap, she's swept up with Garrett and Diesel to go watch Garrett fight in an illegal match. The match itself felt more like a filler chapter of her admiring Garrett's body, one-way mental conversations with her vagina, and random people admiring her beauty.
Yeah, that didn't move along the plot whatsoever. It was really just there to, I don't know, be entertaining.
I guess. I mean, it wasn't even smutty.
No, not much.
I really believe this book could have been 200 pages shorter and you would not have lost any quality.
Oh, for sure.
When they get back to the fortress, she tries to get Garrett to open up about why he's so damaged. She keeps pushing him even after he warns her to back off, even threatening to kill her. Eventually, he snaps, ties her up in the bathroom, and has his way with her. Diesel finds her like that a little while later and tells her that she needs to keep pushing him, or Garrett will be lost to them forever. Kenzo and Ryder go on a little shopping trip to buy Roxy expensive shit and have a heart to heart about how Roxy is just so different from other women because she doesn't care about things like money. And, she's nothing like their dad's trophy wives. And while Kenzo and Ryder are on their little adventure, Garrett and Roxy are left in the apartment and are getting on each other's nerves. They finally reach a peak where Garrett opens up a little bit about what happened to him and that he gets triggered by a woman's touch. Roxy and Garrett do some serious trauma bonding before coming to a truce and deciding not to kill each other. The Vipers sit Roxy down and give her all the presents they bought for her.
Mhm.
In one scene, she's holding one of the Viper's hands and she needs both hands to open her present. So instead of letting go of his hand, she puts it on her boob. Which, I mean, I guess is cute, but it's a complete ripoff of Friends, if you all know what I'm talking about. That's exactly what Phoebe does to Mike. I'm not sure if she intentionally ripped off Friends, but it happened, and it's way too similar to be a coincidence.
Mhm.
If this book could be boiled down to 5 words, it would be kinky sex and trauma bonding. Her and Ryder share their individual traumas and have multiple rounds of kinky sex. The next day, Diesel shows off a tattoo of a little bird he got over his heart, symbolizing his nickname for Roxy. Kenzo takes Roxy to a little gambling den where a bunch of stuffy rich people gamble and rub elbows. Roxy is herself, rude, crass, and loud, which is honestly just so cringy. It wasn't like a funny, cute chapter. It was so I was like I had so much secondhand embarrassment for them.
Yeah, it was like at this point now you're getting really chummy with the Vipers, and I assume that they have a reputation to uphold. So
Yeah.
you're Kenzo's guest in this gambling den that he frequents and is the boss of, and you're gonna be like that immature and crass. Like, I get that Kenzo was amused by it and he liked that she was telling off all the old farts, but I don't know. I kind of felt like what you couldn't be a reasonable social person for 5 minutes.
No, literally. I think that they thought that she was just being really cool, but you're right, it came off as so immature.
Mhm.
After Kenzo and Roxy's little date, she walks into Garrett's room, waking him up from a nightmare. Even after telling the other Vipers and herself that she had pushed him enough and she would allow him to come to her, she pushes him again. They navigate their feelings for each other and how to have sex without triggering him, so they have hot and nasty sex.
Mhm.
The next day, it's Ryder and Kenzo's turn to go out, so Diesel, Garrett, and Roxy are at the fortress together. Garrett knows how to tattoo, and Roxy has one on her leg that's incomplete. Turns out the pain from tattooing really turns her on, and they have some wild threesome sex after Garrett is done tattooing her, which I'm not gonna lie was kind of a hot scene.
That was a really hot scene. Yeah, I don't know. Something about the whole you're doing something like normal every day. Like, not that tattooing is like every day, but you're mixing this fairly mundane sort of task and then you're getting really turned on. And yeah, the threesome scene was pretty good. I'll give him
Yeah,
that.
exactly, right? The Vipers decide that they love Roxy and know that she will never love them the same way if she's a prisoner, so they decide to let her go. Ryder and Kenzo tell her that they love her and that she can leave if she wants. She gets inside her car before realizing that she doesn't want to leave and that her future is with them. When she gets out to run back to them, Kenzo is waiting for her behind her car. He tells her that even if she left, she would never have been free of them.
The illusion of freedom.
I know, it's so romantic.
Mhm.
The 5 of them kiss and make up. Okay, they do a lot more than that. They have a fivesome, which I mean is written pretty well. I can imagine that it would be hard to keep track of, but Knight does a good job of it.
Yeah, it works out. That is difficult to write because I mean, there's only so many orifices she has.
Yeah.
So You can only do so much at one time, but the way she wrote it to still like have a couple of them watching and their gazes being hot at the same time as she's doing stuff with others, like, yeah, it was pretty well done.
It was. I mean, I have trouble writing just a one-on-one scene because I'm like, how does that physically work? And I think she like made it physically work pretty well. The day after their reunion, Ryder gets word that there was a bombing at their old house. They know it's the Triad, and they're trying to figure out how to get the Triad back. And of course, Roxy magically solves the problem by leaking the story of them stealing from the city and their criminal activities. And just when things are going great, Vipers get word that the Triad is out of jail, and immediately after, their safe houses go dark. They know it's time for war. When Garrett is out checking on the safe houses, he sees that woman. When Garrett is out checking on the safe houses, he sees the woman that mentally and physically scarred him. Daphne survived the Viper's wrath, and now she's working for the Triad to get revenge on the Vipers. She manages to swipe Garrett's phone and uses it to lure Roxy out of the fortress. After some pretty intense fighting, Roxy's abducted by the Triad. The Vipers go on a killing spree, killing anyone, including innocents, until they get a lead on where she is, while Roxy is shit-talking her captors and getting slapped around. We have pages on pages of pretty graphic torture, and Roxy just shit-talks them and insults them. When they leave her alone for a few minutes, she throws her weight into the chair and breaks it, managing to free herself. She beats up the guy torturing her and steals his gun and escapes the little room she was held in. Thus, the last line of this chapter, God, I want a nap. We're almost done, guys. I promise. You will be rewarded if you stuck around this far. The Vipers have impeccable timing because they get to the building right as Roxy escapes. They have a sweet little reunion among the mass of people they just killed, and Kenzo is severely injured, and Garrett is kidnapped. Kenzo tells Roxy he'll die unless she agrees to marry him. They go to the Triad base and interrogate one of the leaders. Of course, Roxy is amazing and badass and super cool, and they learn that Garrett is held in one of their homes, and Daphne, his ex, is there. Daphne sounds almost like a Disney villain that can cuss, just like comically evil. Roxy comes in and saves Garrett's ass, as expected. She kills Daphne and basically carries him out the house. The last loose end was Roxy's father. They go pay him a visit where they all exchange words and talk about what a shitty dad he was. In the end, Roxy decides to kill him. The book ends with chapters of very imaginative sex scenes, including one-on-ones and threesomes, and the Vipers kidnapping and threatening a judge into marrying Roxy to all four of them. Oh, that was a lot of talking. I'm gonna shut up now and give it to Hannah. What did you think?
Oh my God. This one was a wild ride. I kind of thought that nothing fazed me anymore, and then Den of Vipers came along. Everybody in this book is crazy. The plot is ridiculous. Roxy tries so damn hard to be cool girl, and oh my God, everybody in this book is crazy. Like,
Oh my
that's
god,
really
yeah.
all there is to it. I think first and foremost, I just hate Roxy as a character. I couldn't stand her. From the way she's described as being so cool to how she attracts the attention of four notorious badasses just because she's so perfectly hot and fiery, loud and crass. Like the guys go from tall, dark, and dangerous to pussy whipped in like 5 pages.
Mm-hmm.
From the first couple of the pages where we're introduced to her character and her monologue is all the whole everybody knows me and knows not to fuck with me, and the guys looking at her picture and being flat out stunned and getting hard-ons just looking at her, like, it's a little bit ridiculous. And then she ends up getting close to each one of them, and they each have their heart to hearts, and she perfectly addresses all of their dark problems like a sex slave therapist.
Yeah, I know, right? I mean, she really was like their own personal sex therapist, and it was absolutely ridiculous. I know we have to have a suspension of disbelief when it comes to dark romances, but this was asking so much of the reader.
Yeah, Roxy was such a big part of the book as the main character. For her to be so unrelatable, I think that was a big issue. Just
Hmm.
once I would have liked to see her be a normal person, overwhelmed, not knowing what to do with everything that was going on. For example, when she was kidnapped by the Triad and tortured for information, I would have actually liked for her to lose some of that tough face and let the guys save her. Not just because a big, strong woman being able to rely on her man makes me warm and fuzzy, but I honestly think that that would have showed some character growth. Even though on the surface it would have seemed regressive with her character, I think it really would have been a way of saying that she's comfortable now and has people that she can rely on versus when she was at the bar and growing up and didn't have loving parents, didn't have friends, support like that. Now she doesn't need to push herself to be perfect because she has the support of the Vipers. But no, instead, she just has to bust herself out of there, somehow fight a bunch of trained killers easily while severely injured, just for the Vipers to come in and find her holding her own and on her way to them. So,
Some of our favorite books have female leads whose character arc is them learning to trust others and knowing that they're not on their own. And, Roxy does say that, but her actions say the exact opposite. We don't get any of that here.
yeah, not a second of it was believable. And it ended up kind of reading like the author's dark private indulgence that we
Mm-hmm.
frankly have no business reading. To be fair, though, I didn't hate it. I did actually like it better when I read it for the second time and was able to get past the shock factor stuff to the actual dialogue and characters. There definitely was still parts where it was cheesy and Roxy was too much. It wasn't all salvageable, but I think that did help for those who may have read it once and then were like, what the fuck did I just read?
Yeah, for sure.
If you manage to get past the characters and you're just here for the smut, some of it is pretty good. Some of it is quite disturbing. There's definitely some hard kink here, which suits the overall tone of the dark romance genre in this book, but it is a lot. And I like pushing boundaries as much as the next guy. I'm sure that this hit the spot for some folks, which may be kind of why it's found its cultish notoriety on Book Talk and other places. But have I mentioned that everyone in this book is crazy?
I totally agree with you. The scenes that hadn't gone too far were really well written. I enjoyed some of the smut scenes. But I think we'd be failing our audience if we didn't discuss the scene where Diesel and Roxy have sex in its dungeon of horrors.
Oh my God, yes.
Warning, this part is about to get really graphic. We'll be talking about knife play, blood play, and violence, and we will be telling you exactly what happens in this scene. For some background, Roxy is getting very chummy with Diesel and the other guys right now, which means that, we've pushed past angry and dubiously consensual sex onto fully willing sex. Diesel and Kenzo have both admitted that they have full intention of keeping her and that she belongs to them. And even Roxy is starting to realize her romantic feelings for them. Roxy goes down to the Dungeon of Horrors with Diesel to quote unquote keep him calm. They get turned on when Diesel is graphically torturing and killing this man and have sex in his dungeon. But that's not all. No, no, no. He ties her up where this assassin was tied up, cuts her with a knife, and fucks her in the pool of this dead man's blood. And then he fucks her ass with the handle of a knife. And when he takes her from behind, he stabs himself with the knife that's sticking out of her ass. And don't ask me about the mechanics of this. I have no idea. I was trying not to picture it. But he stabs himself repeatedly while he has sex with her so badly that when they're finished, she has to give him stitches.
That was definitely a standout scene. There's a
Mm-hmm.
lot of graphic violence in this one, and in some cases, it's given a sexual tone, which I think is what makes it so kinky. Knife play and blood play are some of the rarer kinks. So, on the one hand, it's kind of cool that they give representation to this area that's not so widely discussed. But on the other, I kind of feel like it's not portrayed realistically and safely. And I think that that would insult the circles that actually practice safe knife play. I know it's a weird thing for me to get hung up on, but I've been pissed for a long time at the way BDSM has gotten super popular in romance novels. And it's usually not portrayed in a proper, healthy, consenting way like BDSM is supposed to be. I know it wouldn't have been as sexy, but what little I know about knife play and blood play, it's got to be done safely and kept sanitary. And that is not what happened here.
Wait, I totally agree. Absolutely. I mean, this wasn't as bad as books that claim to be good representations of BDSM, but aren't. I mean, 50 Shades, I'm looking at you. But you're right. This was like not any representation of BDSM at all.
Yeah, it didn't flow for me. And I'm sure a lot of other people in those circles would have similar complaints. There's plenty of other kinky sex here. There's run of the mill bondage and rough oral.
Yeah, just your
Since
average bondage here.
Right, the average kind. Since it is a reverse harem, we have some threesomes and the group sex. And like we said, like that part wasn't so badly done. Um, I always feel like it's awkward when the girl is having sex with one guy and just waves another guy over, like, come on in, there's room for you too. But it wasn't that bad. I mean,
Yeah.
all things considered, the threesomes were handled well. Especially in this case, like the guys are supposed to be so alpha and powerful, and it didn't feel that realistic that they were so comfortable with sharing, like right in front of each other, especially with how aggressive they are towards anyone outside of the circle that they think might be coming onto Roxy in any way whatsoever. For them to be okay with the whole sharing dynamic was a little iffy to me, but I guess it worked for them.
I'd have to give this one a 5 out of 5 chili peppers, especially in my reread of it. I did really enjoy some of the smut scenes there were. Like, it was well written. K.A. Knight does have a knack for writing smutty scenes. Just like the tension in them, the heat, the dynamics. Like, I think she did a really good job with that. And remember, having a perfect chili pepper score does not necessarily mean we recommend this book. The sex was definitely dirty and nasty, and there was a lot of it. I mean, if you took out all the sex scenes of this book, it would probably be 20 pages and 2 chapters long. There was a lot of kinky shit. They had a lot of group sex scenes, really, really weird incestual group sex scenes, but you know, I don't kink shame most of the time.
Yeah, most of the time, right? I am kind of torn between enjoying the colorful portrayal of less common kinks and criticizing the unhealthy relationships that are portrayed
Mm-hmm.
here. I don't think that it's fair to assume that these kinks are portrayed fairly because, like we were saying, I mean, these guys all need a long inpatient psych evaluation. But I do like the overall adventurousness of it. It's something you will remember, especially that scene you described. I think I almost threw the book across the room like 3 times. I kept being like, no, oh God, no, don't go there. Um, but they did. And that being said, I remember the scene. I mean, it stood out. Obviously, it made an impact. And doesn't every author want to be memorable like that? In that way, it was a success, even if your lady boner is really confused. I can't say that this would appeal to everyone, and I do want to say that Good Spice connects with a majority, but this has to be a 5 chili pepper book. I mean, where are you going to take it from here? It literally, I mean, I can't lay down a challenge for someone, but I feel like it can't go much further than this. There's so much sex that the book can't be without it. There's so much in the way of kink. This is pretty niche, but they take things up to an 11.
Yeah, I think there's 48,000 reviews on Goodreads, and she has a lot of other books out, and I think there's only a couple thousand reviews on Goodreads for her other books. So,
Wow. Maybe I have to check out the other ones. I wonder if, I assume they're very different if,
mhm.
the number of readers is so different, but curious now.
Yeah, right. I will say that there's one thing I didn't hate about Den of Vipers. I like that she cycled through everyone's perspectives, and she did a really good job of it. It's really hard to do, and she did it pretty well. I love seeing a sex scene through the man's perspective. There's just something so hot about reading firsthand, like what he thinks of the woman.
Mm-hmm.
And I like how she wrote Diesel's crazy. She wrote it really well. He sounded absolutely psychotic. And I think that was really cool how she conveyed that through dialogue. Overall, I would not recommend this book, not because of the kinky shit. Like, I'm taking kink and sex and smut out of this. I don't like the representation of Dubcon or CNC, but whatever. I don't recommend this because I dislike Roxy so much. She is so irritating and so frustrating with her life choices and just the way she's written. She's like this horrible amalgamation of a pick me girl, a not like other girls girl, a main character girl, and just it wasn't fun to read. At some point I was just getting so angry with her. There's a lot of better books out there that are still dark romance, that still cross the boundaries when it comes to smut, and that are just well written.
Yeah, I think you'll need to give me the names because I'm really curious.
I will have to look through my TBR, but we should definitely cover some for our podcast in the future.
Mhm.
Would you recommend the book?
No, I'm in the same boat as you. I would not recommend this unless you're just really bored with the mainstream and looking to expand your comfort zone. If you are in that arena, then by all means, suspend disbelief and enjoy the ride. This is something you more read to brag that you read it in the first place.
Yeah, I totally agree. Well, thank you guys so much for listening. We upload every Wednesday morning. Follow us on social media at That's What Podcast and check out our website at www.naughtylistpodcast.com to get the latest updates. We love to hear from our audience, so please let us know what book we should cover next. Until next time, you sweet horny people.